Yeah, I think Chuck said y'all can sit down. So. Wow, how encouraging was Merle? You can, I could tell you, if our goal for 88, I'll take that. So, but I'm Brad Rhoads, and it's just a real honor and privilege to be here. And, I think of the scripture, Jesus came to give life and life to the full and abundant life, and came to bring us alive. And just the life in the room is an encouragement to me. And what I'm here to preach to you about is marriage. Because my longing for you guys that are married in here, that we married someday, that when people watch you be married, they see something so unique. They see something so beautiful. They see something so cool, so grace-filled, so sacrificial, so creative, so affectionate that they're drawn to you. And you get to tell them the source of it. And that we're not like the world that's dominated by the pursuit of wealth and kids the center of everything, that they just see this tired, complacent people just trying to get along with average marriages no more. We want to get rid of that altogether. Because the patterns of the world, they're just not healthy. And we're not careful. We just fall right into them. We don't do it on purpose, but we just fall right into them. Let me start by reading from Romans 12, verse 1 and 2. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The tendency of the world is to conform. And we're going to go through a lot of patterns that we're tempted to conform to these days. But we just kind of do naturally what everybody else does. When I was growing up, this shirt right here, Coca-Cola Rugbies. Are any of y'all old enough to remember Coca-Cola Rugbies? Nobody. Oh, we got one. But like these were the craze. They were selling millions. Everybody wore them to school, everything. And then guess what? That pattern passed. And now you're all wondering, why is he wearing that shirt in June? And Chuck calls me Where's Waldo? But in the publication Nature of Human Behavior, it states, it is well known that individuals tend to copy the behaviors that are common among other people. Just look at toys. Toys are an interesting phenomenon. When a lot of people start buying something, people conform, it goes viral. This next slide, remember Little's Pet Shop was the thing when my kids were getting. So my daughters loved them. And I find myself like going to 10 different stores trying to find a small plastic giraffe. And then ordering it for like $40 because it's rare. And how dumb is that? I mean, that thing's like 1.5 inches tall. But if you look at history, remember Cabbage Patch Kids? Well, you remember that. Don't remember the rugby, but we remember the Cabbage Patch. Remember Furbies? Furbies sold 40 million Furbies by the year 2000. This one I didn't know of, Labubu. Y'all familiar? Is that how you pronounce it? Beanie Babies? Tickle Me Elmo? Do y'all remember Tickle Me Elmo? There were near riots in stores of adults fighting to get one of those red things. Does it show you how silly people can be? Kids started eating Tide Pods. Remember that? Now, how did that start? I think it'd be fun to eat a Tide Pod. And then kids start eating Tide Pods. Saggy jeans, mullets, stirrup pants, slap bracelets, leg warmers, jelly shoes. I mean, people are interesting because when people start doing something without thinking, we start doing what they do. And this isn't a new phenomenon. In the 1800s, pale skin was fashionable. So now it's good to be tan. Back then it was really good to be pale. So people would actually ingest small amounts of arsenic to try to lighten their skin so they would feel more beautiful. In Queen Elizabeth's reign, black teeth were a sign of wealth. In the Victorian era, women wore jewelry made from live Beatles. But I share all this to say how naturally we conform. Now, the above toys and trends, I mean, they're not harmful in themselves, I guess, except eating Tide Pods and eating arsenic. But Paul shares that we tend not only to conform to these type of patterns, but negative, sinful patterns of the world as well. And we're called to be transformed, to look totally different, like your marriages. When somebody sees a believer be married, they should see something totally different than they see in the world. I'm a civil litigation attorney by trade, did it for 22 years. How do I end up in marriage ministry? Somebody taught me to be married well. And I love Marilyn. I love spending time with Marilyn. And then some kids in their early 20s said, hey, will you do our premarital instead of our pastor? I said, why? They said, what you have looks fun. Whatever you're doing, just tell us what you're doing because we want what you have. And that's how I got in marriage ministry, just because I love hanging out with Marilyn. And we have a blast together because somebody taught me not to be conformed, but to be transformed. And now my marriage, other than my walk with Jesus, is the best gig in the world for me. And life is a brutal gig. I mean, it's tough. Marilyn's dad suddenly dies. We have 3 years of total health crisis. But I'm getting to do it with my very best friend in the whole world, and that's Marilyn. And she's been through a real rough 2-year health journey now, but I get to do it with her. And what's happened is we've become conformed to the patterns of the world where marriage is this stagnant coexistence where we just try to get the bills paid, take care of the kids, get the kids to soccer, get the kids baseball, get the kids this, get the kids this, go to bed, get up and do it again. That's conformed marriage. That's not transformed marriage. And we're going to talk today what it looks like to have transformed marriage. It's absolutely beautiful. Because conform comes from the Greek word systematizo, which means to be molded according to pattern. And right now, what is the pattern of marriage? And when people think of marriage, what adjectives they think of? Old ball and chain. Restrictive. Like my clients say, well, I don't know what the old lady wants. But it's not seen as free and beautiful and hot and fun and pleasurable. But let's live transformed marriages and completely redefine marriage in the minds of people that when they think of it, they think of something so beautiful. I want you to be married in a way that the younger generations thinks, man, I can't wait to do that. Like, whoa, man, maybe one day I'll get to be married. Now, people are getting married later. Less people are getting married. Why? They watch us. Either A, there's a 40 to 50% chance I get to be divorced, or B, I get to be bored. Well, I've got a good C for you. You get to have a blast physically, emotionally, and spiritually with the best friend in the world the entire life. You get to come home and have a perpetual sleepover with your best friend in the world. That's transformed. So our ministry is our life. And I love what Henry Nouwen said. He said, let's treat this world like a sinking ship and swim as hard as we can away from its patterns and behaviors. So the natural is to be conformed, supernatural is to be transformed. So we're going to talk about 6 patterns today. That the patterns that dishonor marriage and then how we can break those patterns. 1, premarital sex and pornography has become normative. People living together before marriage increased 900% in the last 50 years. It wasn't acceptable, wasn't normative 50 years ago. Now more people have lived together outside of marriage than are now been married. So a transformed is no. Marriages can be held in honor among all. Sex is reserved for marriage. I will hold sex sacred. I will not have sex before marriage. And then I will enjoy sex richly and freely in marriage for his glory, my pleasure, beauty, awesome. So if you've fallen into the pattern of, well, it's not that big a deal, it is that big a deal. Let me read a few passages. Flee from sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexually immoral person sins against his own body. Now the works of the flesh are evident: sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality. Those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. Thessalonians, for this is the will of God for your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality, that each one of you know how to control his own body in holiness and honor. And I'm not coming up here from a point of doing it right in the past. But I can tell you, every decision I've made outside of God's will that I knew was wrong, that I did anyway, I look back in regret and I see that I hurt myself and everybody around me. And every decision I made consistent with God's word, I'm thankful for. Now, Marilyn and I had an advantage in dating because we started dating and she came to my house and she said, Brad, even if I wasn't walking with the Lord and even if I wanted to stay here, I would not stay in your house. It is so nasty. I mean, literally, you could just scrape across my floor and pick up a handful of dog hair. I mean, our first date, she found a dog hair in her ice cube. Yeah, she wasn't tempted. Yeah. Maybe it's because I dress like this. But God's ways, and people like, the misconception is like God's ways, like you deprive yourself of pleasure for his glory, be miserable for his glory. No, we've got a God that loves you, wants to thrive you, wants to bless you, wants to honor you, created you, and created the way to thrive. And sex outside of marriage is a way to destroy yourself, not a way to thrive. And he loves you and wants to thrive you. Stats show that cohabitors have a 50 to 85% higher risk of divorce. And I've heard people say, well, you don't buy a car unless you test drive the car. Well, I'm telling you, a human created by God is not a car. And when they let you test drive the car, they don't say, take it home for a year, use it, wear it out however you want of it, and let you know if you want to keep it or not. So what do you do now if you're living together? Or some of you in this room may be having sex outside of marriage. There's no condemnation in Christ Jesus, Romans. There's grace that covers it. God wants you to turn from that, move to his way for your good, for his glory, for your freedom, for your future, for your everything. Now, thank you. And it could be an entire sermon, but I want to spend a moment on pornography. This wonderful gift to the cell phone has really expanded pornography great. I mean, when I was growing up, porn was hard to access. I remember a friend of mine like trying to sneak in a 7-Eleven to try to buy one Playboy and getting denied. Now it's just boom, there it is. In pornography, I do marriage ministry, and pornography is about the biggest enemy of healthy marriage. And it's become it's sad how evil has become normal. And it is evil. Evil. A pastor who used to be a porn star, he shared his testimony about how many of the folks that were on set with him have now all killed themselves. And thinking about looking at that while people's lives are destroyed and objectified, and we're looking at that for our pleasure and sexual gratification and somehow feeling okay with it, that's not okay. It's not. Among men 18 to 29, 70 to 80% are now viewing it on a consistent basis. And it's not just a man problem. 80% of women age 30 and below have viewed it. Let me tell you, porn's bad for you. It's bad for marriage. It's bad for your sex life. If you want to grade your likelihood of divorce, watch porn, but God delights in you. He doesn't want others degraded. He doesn't want you degraded. He created you to give of yourself for another person for their good, not to objectify and take of another person for your own good, for your bad and their bad. So for those that are viewing it, sin thrives in secret. There's no condemnation in this church. There's no condemnation in Christ. The desire is total freedom. You come forward and say, I'm watching it. They'll say, oh, thank you for sharing. I love you. Let me help you find freedom. They won't say, oh, you're gross, you're nasty. No, they'll say, you're a beautiful creation of God and want to help you walk into who you truly are. So that's the first pattern. The second pattern, and this is, I see it all the time. People get so busy. They're pursuing a better house, a better car, 529s for their kids, retirement, everything else, 2 people working full time. They're so busy that they don't have time for each other in marriage. And they're tired. And why are they tired? Because they're just working so hard with responsibilities, they're missing relationships. Matthew 13:22 says, as for what was sown among thorns, this is the one who hears the word, but the cares of the world, the deceitfulness of riches, choke the word, and it proves unfruitful. So often, we are so stressed and worried about things that don't matter at all. I remember, I'm practicing law. We're trying to fund retirement, trying to build a practice, trying to build this, trying to build that, really busy. And then at midnight, my daughter comes to bed with us. At about 1, she stops breathing. We think she's dying in our arms. She turns white, goes limp. We're freaking out. We're screaming. Marilyn's screaming. I'm trying to find a rescue inhaler. Never found it. No future in emergency medicine for me. I broke my toe. Got blood all over the house. But all of a sudden, all this stuff didn't matter anymore. And the reality is it doesn't. The only thing that matters is our relationship with Christ. We're a mist that's here and gone, and the only thing that matters is how well we love Jesus, how close we are to Jesus, and how well we love others. Getting sucked into this world, we are in this world. We are not of this world. And when we get pulled into it, our relationships are the casualty. Had a really successful businessman tell me, now look, Brad, you don't understand. I do this for 2 years. I'll never have to work again. We'll have a retirement funded. We'll have this. We'll be able to do anything we want. I said, you can't put marriage on hold. He said, yes, you can. 2 years later, we're both right. He's wealthy as can be, doesn't have to work again, but he doesn't have a wife to do it with. So my encouragement is make relationship primary, things of the world secondary. If that means a smaller house, not as nice a car, not as nice this, not as nice that, make whatever adjustments are necessary such that you got plenty of time and margin to just enjoy Christ and to really love the ones in your life. You just think the deathbed conversation, how many lay on their deathbed and wish they had more in retirement? No. You want something like Merle's talking about. Just beauty and depth of love. Well, the third pattern I want to talk about, that marriage should fulfill you. Like marriage is this great life enhancement thing. You're going to find this person. They're going to complete you. They're going to make your life better. You're going to be happier. You're going to be all these things because, wow, I've found my one. God never created marriage to satisfy you. And it doesn't. And that's why so many marriages fail, because you want from it what it can't bring. I do crisis counseling. Well, she doesn't make me feel respected. Well, he doesn't make me feel beautiful. Well, he doesn't make me feel secure. Well, I'm like, and he never will. And he never can. Christ is sufficient, and he is our only hope. Your spouse is not your hope. I shouldn't feel respected because Marilyn makes me feel respected. I should feel respected because I'm a child of God created in his image in delight and victory under his grace, an adopted son of the King that spoke the world into existence. And ladies, you aren't beautiful because your husband says you're beautiful or makes you feel beautiful. You're beautiful because there's nobody in the world like you. And God created you as his daughter. And you can look at your husband and say, you're looking at beauty. You can look at a mirror and you can like it. And the evil one's powerful here. And my son said, Dad, what is it about women? He goes, even the pretty ones think they're ugly. And she goes, even the skinny ones think they're fat. The evil one comes to make you feel like a failure and then make you think that the answer is other people treating you a certain way so you don't feel that way. And that's a lie. Our testimony in our marriage, Our first year was an utter disaster. Marilyn prayed, Lord, am I sentenced to the life of this? She cried all the time. I thought she's a hypersensitive wife that was needy and needed to settle down and realize that I'm not so bad. She felt he's selfish, dominated by work, pays me no attention, and marriage is the most disappointing thing I've ever done in my life. And then she came to me and she said, Brad, I don't need you. I was like, whoa, where's this going? And she goes, I want to ask for your forgiveness. She goes, I've been asking for you what only the Lord Jesus Christ can give me. And she goes, I love you. I'll be your wife, but I am off your roller coaster. My joy is no longer hinged to your mood. My joy is now hinged to his perfection. In our marriage, that was the key to our marriage. Because marriage is now it's expected to be everything. It's got to be romantic and stable and fun and this and this. And it shouldn't have problems. Well, every marriage has problems. 1 Corinthians says, if you get married, you will have much trouble. It says it right there in the Bible. So I have couples come in. I said, I think you have a very biblical marriage. What? I said, well, you have troubles. And the Bible says you'll have troubles. So a lot of people think they're in crisis and have terrible marriages, and they don't. I had a couple in front of me. And they were telling me, I said, what do y'all do? We date once a week. Do you respect him? Yeah. Do you like him? Yeah. Do you enjoy each other? Yeah. Well, we don't connect at a deep level. And I said, you don't have a perfect, I said, you're not in crisis. I said, we can grow and make your marriage more beautiful, Christ glorifying and magnetic, but you're not in crisis. And they turned and gave each other high fives. I said, whoa, boom, we're not in crisis. But my point is, stay in marriage. Don't bail. Be a vow keeper. Marriage is not meant to make you feel beautiful or secure. And now people think if it doesn't, and says it's somehow making my life way better, I'm going to get out and try to find somebody else, so that other person won't deliver for you either. Now, I'm not talking about abuse and infidelity. That's a whole nother game. Protect yourself. What I'm talking about is seeing marriage as something to give your life away to for the good of another, not to be a parasite to pull from another for your own life. Pattern 4. Well, this is a big one. Conform life. Children are the center of the home. Both spouses focus on the kids, not one another, then they don't have good marriages, and it's bad for the kids, it's bad for them. Transform life. Marriage takes priority. The relationship of husband and wife is above the relationship of the child. It's atmospheric. The kids grow up in a beautiful, loving, romantic, fun atmosphere, and the kids thrive because they're living biblically. They don't struggle because they're the center of everything, because it's not good for any of us to be the center of everything. How well you love your spouse is largely how well you love your kids. You can't be a great parent without loving your spouse well, because one of the primary things you do as a parent is to show them how to be married well. Have the marriage you want your kids to have someday. And it works. Somebody came to me 28 years ago and said, date your wife every week. I'm like, we don't have time. He said, date your wife every week. We don't have time. So he stayed on me. Then I said, okay, I'll do it. And we put a stake in the ground and said, every week, the rest of our marriage, we're going to go on a date. Period. Come hell or high water. Through crisis, through everything, tears, sickness, we go on a date every single week. My daughter got married a few years ago. Got back from her honeymoon. Said, okay, Zach, what are we doing this week on our date? He's like, what? He goes, come on, Zach. If you're married, you date once a week. You didn't get the memo? They have amazing marriage. So those that you have kids, be really careful not to be conformed to the pattern of the world and make your kids the center of everything. Youth sports has become a $30 to $40 billion industry. We drive average athletes all over God's green earth at our own expense. Doesn't make a lick of sense. My wife's out of town and she sees this couple at like a weekend baseball tournament for their average baseball kid that will never even play Division III. And she said, you ought to be in our marriage ministry. Oh, we could, but man, we can't afford $189. I'm like, you're paying $800 for this weekend, 4 hours away from home. To watch him play baseball, but you don't have money or time to invest in your own marriage? That doesn't make a lick of sense. Doing crisis counseling with a few weeks ago, and I asked him, spend 5 hours together every single, Brad, we can't do that. We're busy. I said, you are. And I explained it to him. I said, so you spend 15 hours a week on child dance. You have no time for one another, and you're in my office in crisis counseling at the brink of divorce to put your kids in utter chaos. Does that make any sense at all? Your kids can play a game without you being there. They don't need you at their practices. Yeah, I mean, there's 2 ditches. And you don't ignore your kids and go to none of their games and say, good luck, I'll see you when you're 20. But at the same time, you don't make them the center of everything. And you just tell them, we miss a lot of our kids' stuff because we have to have a good marriage, and our kids are glad. So if you have become conformed and gotten to the point where you feel like you're just busy running kids everywhere, stop. Make a commitment that every single week we're going to enjoy one another the best we can. And like exercise, we're going to invest in our marriage every single week. Some dates are terrible, some are great, but we're going to do it every single week. So the 5th pattern is we have performance-based marriages. Basically, I'll be nice to you if you're nice to me. I'll be good to you if you're good to me. If a husband's being really nice to his wife, she's generous with him. If she's not, she's distanced from him. If a husband feels like he's giving a lot of attention, he's sweet. If he's not, he withdraws. Let me tell you what a grace-based relationship is. It's where you offer yourself to another as a free gift of grace based on nothing they've done, based on what Christ did for you. While you were yet a sinner, Christ died for you. While your spouse is yet a sinner, you die for them. Where everything you get from God's a free gift of grace because he chose to love you. Everything you give to your spouse is a free gift of grace to them because you choose to love them. Oil to an engine is like grace to a marriage. See this message on this slide? I took my car to get oil changed last week. My wife drives it the next morning and says, Brad, the oil light came on and the engine light came on. I said, stop, don't start it again, check the oil. Well, the only thing they forgot to do at the oil change place was put oil back in. So read it. It says, guest had oil change. Oil was not put in car. So, oops. So the guy told us, you're lucky. I said, no, you're lucky. I'm unlucky. If Marilyn driven 10 more miles, I get a free engine. But seriously, without oil, a car shuts down. Without grace, a marriage shuts down. Every one of you got messed up spouses. Every one of you got spouses that make mistakes, do dumb stuff, do selfish stuff, make all kinds of problems. And if you don't get grace, sin will have dominion over you. And Romans 6 says, sin will have no dominion over you. Why? You're under grace. Sin will have no dominion over marriage. Why? You're under grace. And this is what set Marilyn and I's marriage free, because no longer do we live frustrated at one another's deficiencies. We're like, we're both deficient. So let's just have a blast together for his glory. And that works. Well, the last pattern I'm going to cover is complacent and stagnant marriages. You have 2 people just living together more as roommates in a norm they've learned to tolerate. A conformed marriage is where you spend time together, you invest in one another, you grow marriage, you do it because marriage is worth it. You realize that to make anything beautiful and great, you've got to invest in it consistently and sacrifice for it. For a car to work, you have to maintain it consistently. For a yard to look good, you've got to mow it every week. To stay healthy, you have to exercise. In marriage, somebody think, go to a marriage conference and you're good. No, go to the gym for a weekend. Does that make you healthy? No, you consistently invest over a long period of time. Right now, we invest in weddings and we don't invest in marriage. The average wedding, guess how much the average wedding is these days? $36,000. That's average. People say, well, I can't afford $189 a year to invest in my marriage. I'm like, well, for the cost of your wedding, you could invest for 192 years. You can invest in marriage, your entire marriage, for the cost of your flowers. So put your marriage in your budget. I mean, I'm a budget guy. I'm tight. It gets on Marilyn's nerves a lot. Like when she leaves, I turn the air conditioner up to 80. I'm saving dollars every minute. But I used to. It's hard for me to date Marilyn because of the expense. And then somebody asked me the question, can you think of anything wiser to invest in than Marilyn in your marriage? Can you think of any place better to put money in your bride? You want to lose 50% of everything you got and pay child support the next 17 years and have attorney's fees for the next 15 years? Don't invest in marriage. Marriage is a great investment. You invest in what breaks down, it's really bad. And if it goes good, it's really good. So now, as much as I can invest in Marilyn, if I can afford it and Marilyn wants it, I do it. Now, if you got a spouse that's got like a shopaholic problem, don't do that. But for most spouses, be generous. I mean, and be generous with your time. I mean, time is the container, this next slide here. Time is a container a marriage grows in. The bigger the pot of time you give your marriage, the bigger the marriage you're going to have. You don't have time for one another, you're going to have a very small marriage. You're not going to grow an oak tree in a little pot. But you give it a large container of time. You can grow in communication, you can grow in sex, you can grow a lot of time, but you can't do it without time. And you got to say no to kids. You got to say no to church stuff sometimes. You got to say no to work sometimes. You got to say no to advancement sometimes. You think, my marriage is important. I'm going to give it this much time each week, and everything else has to work around that. Because if marriage is going to be held in honor among all, we have to invest in it. The existing model of marriage is broken. What's the model? Do premarital counseling, get married, and if you ever get to a point you hate each other or are toxic or can't stand to be in the same room with each other, call Chuck or a pastor and ask him to fix you. Better model. Marriage is a big deal. It brings God glory. It's analogized to the relationship of Christ and the church. I'm going to give it time every single week. I'm going to sign up for our church's ongoing marriage ministry. I'm going to invest in it. I'm going to make a big deal of it. And we're going to make it more and more beautiful over time. And we have issues. It's an opportunity to work through it because we get into new levels of fun and intimacy. So issues are opportunities. They're not indication. It's broken. So my encouragement to you, if you're not married, and you might get married someday, you should be awful excited about it because it's great. I love it. And if you are married, don't let the patterns of the world squeeze out the beauty of what God gave us in marriage. I mean, you could argue the whole Bible is the story of a wedding, culminating with the wedding supper of the Lamb. Starting in Genesis, when two came together to be married. Marriage started in Genesis, it ends in Revelation. Husband, wife, Christ, the church, Israel. I mean, nothing is more theologically rich than marriage. And it's time for us to not make marriage a hindrance to the gospel, but make it an attraction magnet to the gospel. Because the greatest of these is love. And I want you to leave encouraged. I want you to leave thinking, oh man, we don't have the marriage we should have. No, I want you to leave saying, whoa, this is an opportunity. This thing can get hot. This thing can get good. We can have fun. We can grow in grace. We can grow in creativity. We can grow in dating. What an opportunity we have for our family and for the kingdom and for our legacy, and it can start at any point. My in-laws got involved in their church's marriage ministry. They work with us, and man, they'd been married 50 years, and year 51 was much better than any of the years they had in the years before. I called him and said, what are you doing? He's passing now to go with Jesus. But I said, what are you doing? He said, I am moving shrubs from one part of the yard to another, doing my grace marriage. Wives, do me a favor. Never ask husbands to replant shrubs. You work really hard and they die anyway, and just kill them and buy new ones. But in all seriousness, you're going to be asked to join your church's ongoing marriage ministry. And Chuck wants a healthy, growing marriage to be the DNA, part of the DNA of this church. And basically he's saying, is your marriage worth $189 a year and 16 hours a year? And all he's asking you to say yes to that and to commit. We're going to show up every single session. We're not going to schedule over it. If we have something else, it's just an opportunity. My daughter had a college visit to the school she wanted to go, and it was Tiger Days for her. She goes, Dad, are you going to be there with me? I said, no, that's the day I've got set aside to invest with your mom. Dad, I said, your grandmother's taking you, and I'll go with you to Campbellsville University next weekend. But Madeline, you know I don't schedule over your mom. That's the Madeline that dates Zach every week now. She didn't know it, but it was better for her that I didn't go. Did I want to go? Of course I wanted to go. I love being with my daughter. But more than that, do I want to set an example for my wife of my daughter of a biblical home? Yes. So Chuck's going to come on up and give you a little bit of the details, but you're not being asked to sign up for a marriage program. What you're being asked to do is sign up to invest consistently with those in your church to grow your marriage year after year. So thank you for having me. It's an honor being here. And
hello, everybody. All right, y'all listen. If you've got a job in the second hour here, do not go to it. Stay right here. All right, they'll wait, I promise you, all right? I've been married to two extraordinary women in my life. My first one passed away in 2005, and the Lord gave me Jenny, and she rescued my hind parts. And I've got a marriage that is just ridiculously awesome. I mean, I love this woman with every ounce of my being, and she can annoy the snot out of me. She's one of the most incredible gifts the Lord's ever given me. When I first met Brad, I literally did think to myself, you know, we invest in things that matter to us. It's interesting, when I want to do, like if I want to watch the Georgia Bulldogs beat Tennessee like yard dogs, I find a way to do that. And it blesses me immensely. Because I hate Tennessee with every ounce of my being.
that we have in common.
But, you know what's interesting? I find time to do that. I love Jenny a whole lot more than I do the dogs. Why in the world wouldn't I invest in her? Pastor Bobby and I have been talking lately. One of the things we're committed to in 2026 is we want a full-time pastor of marriages in this church. We want to treat marriage ministry as important as we do kids ministry, student ministry, worship ministry, and pastoral ministry. Because I'm telling you, it's time for the church to take seriously the model of Jesus in the church and the life of the home. And the only way we'll do that is when this church decides it is as important as anything we'll do. And the one thing I want you to hear that Brad said is this: when people look at our marriage, let it be a model of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Amen. So I'm going to ask you I'm begging you, show up tonight. If you went ahead and pre-registered, good for you, we got food. If you didn't, grab a sandwich and come at 5:30. Spend some time on he's going to give you some of the most ridiculously practical ways for your marriage to be improved, just to talk about it tonight. But more importantly, we're going to invite you as a couple to join Sugar Hill Marriages with Grace Marriage over the next year. And one of the coolest tools I've ever seen in my life. So Brad shipped Jenny and I this box. And Brett and I both got a box. He and Amy got one, and Jenny and I got one. And I opened it up, and I felt like, Bobby, you know how geeked up we are about getting new Apple products? I mean, me and Bobby are like, we are Apple nerds beyond measure. So every time we get a new Apple product, I mean, it's not unusual to film it and send it to the other one. Let me open in the box, undoing the thing. I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? But that's the way I felt when I got the Grace Marriage Journals. And I opened it up, and I said, Jen, look at this. This is going to change the lives of hundreds of marriages and the life in and around Sugar Hill Church. Because this is something that is so interactive, so fun, so easy, and something that literally changes the very nature of how you converse with one another. And it's just so easy for guys who are like, I don't know what to talk about. It tells you. I mean, seriously. I mean, It literally tells you, like if you're the dude sitting here right now, like if you're a married man, let me see your hands. Okay, just leave them up for a minute, all right? Some of y'all right now are saying, I can't do this. I'm so busy, I'm going to talk to you. Okay, can I just talk to y'all for a minute? Stop it. Suck it up, be a man, and invest in your marriage so that you can be captivated and captivating, and your son will know what marriage ought to look like when you see him at that wedding, and you know that little boy now knows how to love that wife. Come on. This is what we're talking about. So, listen, you say, well, Chuck, it's been a hard week, and Sunday night's my night to get ready. No, tonight might be the night to set you up to have the greatest marriage ever, have the greatest sex ever, have the greatest date life ever, and have the greatest way to just enjoy life than you've ever had. Now you say, well, Chuck, okay, Brad kept mentioning $189. Okay, are y'all ready for this? The amount of resources that you get for $189 over the course of a year will keep you out of a therapist's office, out of a pastor's office, and definitely out of a divorce attorney's office. It'll be the cheapest investment you ever make, and you'll have fun doing it. Now, for those of you that have already said, we don't have $189, you know what Pastor Bobby's going to set up for you? Because he loves it when we do stuff like this. You know what he's going to set up for you? A way for you to pay for that over 6 months and go ahead and get started. So if you can't do that, if you'll come see me, Jenny and I will invest in you. Deal? So if you're here today and you're saying, I can't do that, what I'm saying to you is that is just